I want to get to this because I think this will be fun, and I want to get it to you with you, Perk. So I'll keep this short. But I do a weekly list here on the show, Ceruti's weekly list. It's a top 5 list of different things. This week, I want to do, since we are closing out shortly the decade of the 2010s, I want to do the top 5 players of this past decade, okay? So that'll be 2010 to 2019. I'll go really quickly because I want there to be a lot of reaction to this.
I'm in the car. I'm in the car. I need to see your face real quick.
Why you need to see my face? What? Oh, there we go.
Hey,
you got that.
Yeah,
you got that big old coat.
Yeah, it was cold in Toronto.
I get it. All right, here we go. Now you see my face. Ready? We're gonna do this. Okay. I'm gonna start at number 1. And I think the top is pretty obvious. LeBron is the number 1 player of the decade. No surprise. 3 titles, 4 MVPs. He's the best player of the generation. Might be the second greatest player of all time. He's number 1. Number 2 is Kevin Durant. And I think, unfortunately for Kevin Durant, he's always going to be number 2 to LeBron. And I think Kevin Durant, more than anyone in this decade, including James Harden, if I need a bucket, I'm going with Kevin Durant over anybody else. But he comes at number 2 on my list, even though he did beat LeBron in a couple of finals recently.
He's going down.
Number 3.
You can't disagree with Kevin Durant. He's going down as arguably the best scorer to ever play the game of basketball.
Yep.
So I agree with you on that one.
Okay, number 3, I've got Steph Curry. It was a slow start, but basically from like 2012, 2013 on, dude has been lethal. 2-time MVP, 3-time champion. Obviously there's been some issues lately, but I have him as the 3rd best player in the decade of the 2010s. Coming in at number 4, I have James Harden. Uh-oh. What do you got?
Go ahead, Perk. I kind of agree with Ceruti, but with Steph Curry at number 3, do you have a disagreement with that?
Let me finish the list.
Yeah.
Let me finish the list first, and I'll let you guys react on the back end. All right. Number 4, I have James Harden. You guys know I don't love James Harden, but Scal always tells me I don't give him enough respect. Well, I'm putting him at number 4 in the decade here. He's the highest scoring player in the entire decade, MVP, 2-time runner-up. Say what you want about the playoff failures, but this guy plays night in and night out. He's played a ton of games, and I have him at number 4. And here's where I think it gets really tricky. Number 5 was a toss-up for me between Westbrook and Kawhi Leonard. I ended up going with Westbrook, even though I think Kawhi is the better player. And I went with Westbrook because he's played way more games. He's played, he's played almost 300 more games, including playoffs, than Kawhi Leonard. And I think Kawhi Leonard really picked up as a superstar about halfway through the decade. I know he won the Finals MVP in 2014, but he only averaged 12 points a game that year. He didn't become a superstar until the year after. Westbrook has had a bigger body of work in the decade. MVP, triple-double, 2 All-Star Game MVPs. I know he doesn't have the playoff success that Kawhi does, so that's why I gave him the edge, just because he has his book is a little bit bigger in the decade than Kawhi's is. So I have Kawhi as an honorable mention. I have Chris Paul as an honorable mention. I have Blake Griffin as an honorable mention. And guys like Giannis, Kobe, Wade, and Dirk, they didn't play for a big enough chunk, or they didn't play at their peak for a big enough chunk of this decade to be in the running as well. So that's my list. You guys feel free to criticize it all you want.
Okay, so I'm not trying to be a Steph hater, but I'm just trying to be real here. But no way. So let me ask you this: Does championships define a player's individual, like where they go down in history individually?
I think so.
Somewhat.
Why
yes.
is that? So you saying Robert Horry is better than Charles Barkley?
No, I think it's
That's
just
why I
a
said
part of
somewhat.
it. Yeah, it's just part of it. Like if you show up big and win big, you show up on the biggest stage, you get the nod. Even if it's not like that's the way we separate them out. That's just how it's hard to determine who's the best. But when you end up getting a championship, it's discerning. We have a person who won a championship.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, the things that I'm kind of like, I don't know, like I'm wanting to put that Russell Westbrook a lot higher on that list, just because, like, when KD left, everybody thought that the Thunder was just gonna go under, right? They did not. He kept them afloat. He kept them in the middle of the pack, and he averaged a triple-double for 3 straight seasons. Like, what the hell? Like, name a guy that has done it. Like, nobody. Like, not put up triple-doubles. He averaged a triple-double for 3 straight seasons. Average a triple-double for 3 straight seasons. That's crazy. If Steph Curry would have played on this, I don't know if Steph Curry would even made the playoffs if he would have played on that first team when KD left that Russ had to play with with a young Victor Oladipo that wasn't really into himself yet. Not the Victor Oladipo that we're seeing in Indiana, but I just don't know, man. I think we don't put enough respect on Russell Westbrook's name and what he has done over the past couple of years.
I thought you guys would give me some crap for putting him over Kawhi. You think he should be higher. That's the opposite of what I thought you guys were going to say to me.
I'm just saying, man, to average a triple-double over 3 straight years, like he kept that Thunder team afloat. He kept them, like, matter of fact, that first year, they were actually a coaching mistake away from beating the Rockets. Like, if Billy Donovan wouldn't have dropped the ball and took Russ out, I think it was in Game 6 at Houston. He took Russ out, and to start the fourth when Russ wasn't tired, he should have let Russ finish the game. And all of a sudden, the Thunder had like an 8 or 9 point lead. And when Russ came back, they were down 6. Like, I thought Billy dropped the ball on that one. Like, he almost beat that Rockets team single-handedly.
Mm-hmm. I guess where I stand with this is I would take Kawhi Leonard. If I'd rather have, I would take Kawhi Leonard over James Harden, personally. I know that James Harden had a much better decade scoring and all that other stuff, but if I had to pick one, I'd rather have Kawhi Leonard on my team than James Harden on my team.
I don't disagree with that, but I just think you have to take into consideration like the longevity of it. Like Harden is the leading scorer of the entire decade. He's won an MVP, and and I just don't think Kawhi halfway through the decade really became the guy he is now. Harden, I don't question you at all. I would take Kawhi 10 times out of 10 over James Harden if I for one team or starting a franchise or whatever it is. But I think you got to give Harden the credit for the longevity of this decade. He's been great for basically the entire 10 years.
And he doesn't miss games. That falls into it as well.
Yep.
But the playoff success, don't we weight playoff success pretty highly though?
We do. But I looked at it this way. I tried to weigh both, and I tried to weigh like how much because I do think this devaluing of the regular season has become a thing too, and I wanted to give guys like Harden and Westbrook credit for playing 82 games and winning regular season MVPs. Yeah, they didn't have the playoff success that Kawhi did, but I do want to give those guys credit for that.
Now, hey, Ceruti, I really don't have a problem with your list though. Like,
thank you. That's my guy.
I really don't. Like, I really don't have a problem with that list at all. That's not a bad list.
Not even James. Yeah, you're right. I can't punish James Harden for doing what he did in the decade.
Because think about this, Scal, about James Harden, right? He came in, like he came in and stepped in with the Rockets and just took them to a whole nother level. Like, they instantly became like a number 1 seed for like 2 or 3 years straight. Like, he was dominating the league. Like, they was like every night, keep it real, we was like, if we couldn't catch the game, we was going to look at the stat sheet and be like, oh, let me see what James Harden did tonight. Oh man, James Harden had a 40-point triple-double. You know what I'm saying? Like, he changed the game. Like, when you have a guy that changed the game, I'm talking about from like call standpoint, from referees having like changing the game. Like, you know what I'm saying? When a guy does that, I just, he got to be in that top 5. So I don't disagree with your list. Like, all right. Well, it's so crazy because KD will be number 2.
He's just really always going to fall in behind LeBron. That's just kind of the reality, I think, of his career at this point.